Die Manual. Hey, it's Friday, brother.
There we go, man. Hey, here we are. We made it. We made it to Friday again.
How are you, friend? It looks like you forgot the shaver.
Yeah, I did.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. When people comment, they say, "I love you and Die. You guys just got a vibe." I'm like, yeah, a little bit of a bromance going on, and I've noticed. My brother shows up here and he's looking handsome with the old yes.
Yeah. Dude, I'm just straight from the gym and then a bike ride. And I'm like,
yes.
I come in and I'm like grub mode. So don't worry, everybody. Your friendly neighborhood grub is here. So
I love it.
What's up?
I love it. I love it. I love it. So for a quick Friday hit, 20 minutes or so, we got a good topic, Die Manual. I want to talk with you about helping kids make decisions. Because I got to tell you, man, I went through it. And
so what happened? What happened? Let's hear the story.
Yeah. So my son, I know I've been talking to you about my son. My son's had a chance to play. So Carter is heading into grade 12. And there's a junior hockey team here just down the road that was courting him to come play. But he's got 1 year left at arguably Manitoba's best high school. And it's call what it is. He's a 4.0. He's a good student. He's a great student. He keeps me accountable, frankly. I'm like, Dad's got to go to work. Why? Because Carter's going to work. All right. So I'm going to work. But he was faced with this opportunity to go play hockey.
Yeah.
And then not finish his final year at high school in Winnipeg at St. Paul's. I just got to mute these people here. Hide alerts. There we go. His choice was either to go to Portage and play hockey and accelerate his hockey career and then go to a public school, and nothing wrong with that. No school, or stick around and finish his last year at St. Paul's, where it has not been cheap. It's been a great school. His experience has been great, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But what's the decision that he makes? How does he make the decision? So I'll tell you how I went about it with him. I said, all right, you make your decision. Nah, all joking aside, him and his mom, myself and his mom and I been talking at great lengths over the last few weeks about both paths and gathering facts and gathering information. And then last weekend, he had a camp to attend out in Portage. And I said to him, okay, bud, so last Monday, I said, why don't we do this? Let's make the decision for you right now. Let's put the mindset that you're going to Portage next year. And you're not going to high school. You're not going to high school in Winnipeg. You're going to finish your last year in Portage. So for the next week, let's get the mindset intact that you're leaving home. And that next Friday, when you drive out by yourself, and if you remember last Friday, you were ill last Friday. Friday, I got permission from our guests to let my kid go by himself, because last Friday I was going to drive out with him. And they're like, no, let him go by himself. So I'm like, all right, I'll let him go by himself. So went by himself with his mindset that he was going for the camp, coming home to on Sunday to reflect that, yes, that's the right decision. I'm going to Portage next fall. And I wanted him thinking that way, so that he wasn't he needed some direction. So I said, okay, here's the decision you're making. And then the nice thing is, Carter, is after you go out there for the weekend, we can then come back a week later and you can tell me whether you really are like, I'm itching to go, or I don't know if it's for me.
Yeah.
So he lived with the decision for a week. On Sunday at the end of camp, the coach sat down with him and said, and said to him, I understand you're wrestling with this decision. Carter's like, yeah. And what I'm going to tell you is a stand-up thing by this coach. He says to him, Carter, listen, we're going to be here next year. If it's best for you to go finish your year at St. Paul's, then you take this next year, go finish your year at St. Paul's, and we'll be here next year when you're ready to come out to Portage.
It's pretty kind.
When he called me on the way home, since an hour drive back from home, and he called me, I could hear the weight coming out of his voice with him helping make that decision. But I wanted to talk with you because I know your two daughters, you guys did big world travels. Your daughters encouraged you and Christy to come back home. You and Christy have encouraged your daughters. It sounds to me, as we've gotten to know each other, you've really worked on empowering your daughters to make decisions and move forward. That's tough to do with our kids. When yet I sat down with Carter last week. I said, dude, I guess Dad's got to drink the Kool-Aid he's been serving up, which is the greatest gift we can give you is wings.
Set you free.
How, how do we help our kids make decisions, man? Because I know I still struggle with it too some days.
You know what? I think we all deal with this, right? But especially as younger people, everything's happening so quickly, right?
Yes.
Everything's also new. There's so many new experiences. And there's obviously that FOMO as well, right? That fear of missing out and fear of what if I choose the wrong thing? And I think we all have
Yes.
that sort of a fear. So one thing that can be really helpful, and especially with really young kids, is just limiting the amount of choices.
Mhm.
Because we deal with this as adults all the time. We have decision fatigue,
You,
right? Like we
you
just
say,
do.
oh, Netflix, right?
Yeah.
You increase this on
Gosh,
Netflix. Okay, now what?
exactly. Or you're lucky if you're only on one network. I have the tendency where I'll hop between five of them and I'm like, I can't find anything, right? And it just I
Yes.
can't decide. And then we throw in the mix is this is me just trying to pick something I want to watch. And then you throw Christy in the mix and we gotta agree on something now. We'll spend a half an hour just trying to find something. Like it's just
Yes.
crazy, right? And because there's decision fatigue, but also it's the end of the day normally when we're doing that. And it's like
Yes.
all my decision making energy has already been expounded, right? I'm done. I'm done. And I think we have to recognize in kids too, that's the same deal. So here's an example. I
Mhm.
remember when my girls were selling Girl Guides. They had a season of doing Girl Guides, and I remember doing the cookie sales. And we were outside a Safeway, or sorry, Save on Foods near where we lived. And they set up their little table. They got all their nice, cute uniforms on. They got the cookies sitting on the table. And this is an example of limiting choices. What I did was I trained my daughters that you don't ask people, hey, would you like to buy some cookies today? Would you like one or two boxes of cookies today? My kids sold out like within an hour.
Oh,
Okay.
I, of course, a slight change of words because she really didn't give them an option whether they wanted
No.
two or the box.
And prime example, right? And this is a wonderful example of also limiting decisions in kids. Is like recognizing if you ask them to make up their own mind, they'll sit there forever and they won't make a decision because of the fear that whatever decision they make will be the wrong one.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And so just limit it for them. Say, would you like this or this? So it's dinner time, right? Hey, do you want me to make the salmon tonight or you guys want chicken fingers? Obviously, you know what the kids are
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
pick.
yeah.
My kids, I wish they would pick the salmon, but I know they're going chicken fingers, right? Most of the time. But now it's different. As adults, it's funny. They'll go for the salmon now. But regardless, it was way easier to give them two choices and they pick one. And so that's one thing. And but what you're dealing with here with your son, that's a life decision. Like it's not as simple as saying, "Hey, I'm gonna have chicken fingers, or am I gonna have pizza tonight?"
And part of the problem, Di, that I felt, and I know his mom felt too, was, and I think we as parents all the time, we want our kids to make the decision for themselves, not
Yes.
for me, not for mom. Right. And
Yes.
especially
Oof.
dad and son, where when I am not the pushing hockey dad. I have served up options his whole life and I've given him opportunities. I've said, here's doors for you to choose from. You decide the door you want to walk through. Oh, you want to get better? Okay, you want to get better? Here's what you'd have to do to get better. Would you like to get better? Yes. Okay.
Mm.
So showing him the path and then encouraging him. But what I got nervous about here recently, Di, was just this whole, is he making the decision for me?
Yes. Oh yeah. Good call there.
Do you know?
Yeah, I do. I totally get that. It's one of the top 5 regrets of the dying. There was Bronnie Ware who did some research around this, and she was a nurse, and basically at the end of life with these patients, and she in a hospice type setting, and she had these conversations with these patients while they're on their deathbeds, and she'd often ask them, "Is there anything you regret not doing with your life?" One of the top 5 regrets that almost every single one of them said was, I wish I'd lived the life I wanted to live, not the life that I thought others expected of me." So what you just said is very on point. And the fact that providing limited choices, that's one option. But I think number two, what you're doing extremely well, Keith, is you're encouraging critical thinking.
Mm. Oh,
You
yeah.
are. You're talking about what if you do make this decision? What would happen after that? What would the year look like? And then you talk it out. But then also it's communicating what is that emotional piece?
Right.
Why would you rather choose this over that? Just talking it through. Now that's encouraging critical thinking and conversation to find the clarity. So we're not just making a knee jerk reaction, quick pick, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
geez,
yeah.
I got 60 seconds to make this decision, or I can't call a friend. It's like
Yes.
either way. And that you're doing it, man. You're doing it.
What's funny though, Di, is he heads out on the Friday himself. by himself,
Mhm.
like his plan was. And then I get a text from him that Friday afternoon. And sorry, Nation, I'm going to drop a swear here in a moment if your kids are listening, but he sends me a text. Dude, I just saw a guy drop his pants and shit in the front yard of
Oh.
Portage Collegiate High School, which
Oh
was the
my
school that he'd be going to next year. So when it
That's an omen. It's called an omen. All right. That's when you talk about manifestation, and all that. I know I have some friends that are right in the, and they'd be like, don't go to that school. That is called foreshadowing for those that are in the English majors.
so when he made the decision, I said, did it have anything to do with the guy dropping his pants and having he looked at me, he's I don't know, man, but I was because the kid's going from a very sheltered, great
Yeah.
school over here till I'm like, I had
Dude,
to have a
that's
laugh.
awesome.
But
That's hilarious. Hilarious.
yeah.
Like awful, but hilarious.
It is, and then but now, so now my daughter is going to be going through some. So my daughter went through a similar decision within the last 12 months about whether she's going to go to this school or that school,
Right.
and she ended up making her own. Not she ended up making her own choice, and then the same thing's happening with Brooks. With you and Christy and your daughters, did you guys ever find a situation where you didn't know how to empower them with the decision, or can you recall one, or was there one time maybe the other side around they came to you and Christy with a decision that you were like, oh, so that's the decision you made? Because I
Oh,
think we as parents have that come
yeah.
across our desk too.
You're right. And there's really those three things. One is providing limited choices, what I told you about, giving the A or B or C,
Mhm.
preferably only two choices to choose from. That's a good way to help them making decisions. And then encouraging critical thinking,
Yes.
sort of number two. Now, number three is this idea of setting a good example. We've talked about this in past episodes. We've
Yes.
talked about the importance of mentorship and modeling.
Yes.
Because neuroscience will tell us that those are the two most effective ways that we all of us learn. Okay. And Christy and I have made some pretty big decisions, and we've had to involve the kids with it because they've been family decisions.
Mhm.
I remember when we moved from like we live downtown, we're city folk. And then
Okay.
we had this decision after our second daughter was born. It's like, we should probably move out of the city, get a bit bigger place, blah, 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 live out in the
Probably
burbs.
should the word should you use, right? Because you thought that's what you did, right?
That's what we thought. We thought that should be better for them, and we got out there, and then we found we were coming into the city all the time, anyways. And I remember the kids were already settled in. They'd done their kindergarten, grade one, like even preschool they did out there. And as they were moving into those younger grades, they start really forming these lasting relationships. And we were having this decision, like, gosh, do we just pull the plug and move back into the city? We have to uproot the kids again, get them set up in a brand new school again. Geez, do we want to do this? And so my wife was very creative in engaging the girls in a conversation
Oh.
where she basically guided them to them making the decision or recommendation that we moved into the city. Yeah. And I can only say that she did it very creatively by just asking questions and getting the buy-in from them before we even proposed the idea. So where I'm going with this is when we're having these conversations with our kids, sometimes if you have a preferred outcome that you're aiming for as parents, because we do know better. We have more life experience. We also have all the responsibilities on our shoulders. So that could be financial, also just getting food on the table, roof over the heads. There's a lot of things I think the kids aren't really aware of. And so they have to recognize you have to weigh all these things in when it comes to making decisions that impact the family. And so what we found was with any of those big impactful moments, those decisions that we know it's going to affect every one of us, it's just encouraging and having the conversation with the kids so they're aware of the decision.
Mhm.
We already have made up our mind we want to move into the city. We're just like, okay, we just got to ask them in a creative way that allows them to discover in themselves that
Yeah.
this is something that they want as well and that they're not afraid of. It's usually because of lack of understanding and knowledge why kids are intimidated of making a decision for fear of making the wrong one or the fear that it may make things sad, right? Like kids just want to be happy, man. Get out of the way and let them be happy.
I'll leave this as a hook here as we work towards wrapping up here
Sure.
today.
Yeah.
Imagine sitting down with your kids
Mm.
and telling your children, I'm going with this. Maybe you don't. Imagine sitting down with your kids and telling your kids that you and your
Oh gosh, yeah.
ex-wife are going to be having a divorce.
Oh, God. Yeah. Tough conversation. I remember my parents doing that with my brother and I. Oof.
Oh, so you've been part of it on the other side.
You bet, man. I remember I was 9 years old, almost
You're,
10, when my parents sat us
you're
down.
Carter's
Yeah.
age. You're Carter's
Yeah.
age.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. So yeah, I would have been Carter's age then when my parents sat my brother and I down to tell us, yeah, we're getting we're separating. And
Yes. Yes.
they didn't use the D word at
No,
that point.
no,
They were
no,
just like, we're
no.
taking a break.
Yeah.
writing's on the wall on that one. But I remember as a kid at that time, I know they were trying to do it more optimistically and be easier on my brother and I. In a situation like that, sometimes it's better just to rip the band-aid off. You
Yes.
know? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I recall going into that conversation, but I'll leave that one there for a future
Okay.
dialogue. Because I would love to share with you maybe that and love to hear.
I want to hear that story.
Yeah. I would.
Let's focus on relationships next week.
Let's
Let's
do that.
talk about
Yeah.
that. That'd be
100%.
great.
And then I want to hear from your point of view
Mm,
what it was like with you and your brother,
sure.
because I would like to hear how that went. So next week, though, we do have our guests coming back
Oh,
from last
yes.
week. Yeah, last week was awesome, man. And then next week we're going to talk about consequences.
Oh, there we go. Whew. That in a way parallel to what we just talked
Yes.
about. Because
Yeah.
every decision we make does have a consequence, right?
Yes. And part of the theme of last week was everybody gets a gold. Everybody's taught that nobody's. I said to our guests last week, Audra and Matt, I'm like, yeah, I drove my kids by the jail over there. So if you act up, that's where you're going to end up one day. Because that's the truth.
It is the truth. It's
Like
the
I live
truth.
by 2 jails, and I'm like, yeah. So if you don't behave, you're gonna end up there. They looked at me like, huh? I'm like, no, it's true. Like the cops will come in and handcuff you.
Yeah.
I don't know if enough parents are having those conversations these days. To be honest with
Yeah. I definitely. I have an opinion on that, but we'll save that one.
you. Yes, there you go.
Because
Good.
I'm like, yeah, we should dive into that one. But that would be good to have a conversation with that about consequences next week.
100%. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
hey, just because we are Canadian, how about that hockey out there, huh, buddy? It's
Well, yeah.
looking pretty good.
Hold on a second here. Yeah. So the show's over. My
I just
team
gotta get the hockey comment in here right now because it is playoff time.
and my team's not playing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, but how often does Vancouver get to say that? Like we're actually still in it,
Oh,
and
man.
we'll see if we can get through this round. It'll be like one of the first times in a long time. So we'll see.
Oh man, that's it. That's it. Yeah, Dies Vancouver Canucks are still in it. Billis's Jets are out, and we'll leave that for the hooker. But listen, if you have kids, as I said, give them limited choices. Just give them peanut butter or chocolate. Don't give them Neapolitan ice cream.
Yeah.
Just and encourage them critical thinking. Peanut butter digests worse than chocolate does, and set a good example. Do not crush this in front of your kids all the time because.
Is that your mid-morning snack there, Keith?
Yeah, it's been sitting on my desk for a while. I see Marty Fit, who's part of the morning show. His face is on it because you can't eat that, man. You can't eat that. And for those that are wondering, it's a half-pound Reese's peanut butter cup.
Dude, so how many calories is in that? I'm curious.
Oh yeah, yeah, like
Shit.
half-pound, Manuel.
Dude,
Half-pound.
that is significant.
So
Like
think about it.
500 grams.
If you're a gym guy like me, it's a plate. It's a 2.5-pound plate.
Yeah,
No,
2.5
actually, no, it's a
Sorry, I'm
half pound.
paying
Yeah,
kilos
you're right.
here.
Yes,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
2.5 pounds. Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
calories. 190 calories. Not bad.
There's only
Sorry, I missed the small print
for half of it.
for 1/6.
Oh, 1/6. Isn't that hilarious? I love how they do this packaging. It is so funny. Like they do this all the time with portions, right?
Yes. Look how big the one.
You
Look how
gotta
big
look
the
at the small
190 is.
print, right? 1/6 of the package. So, dude, there's 1,200 calories in that thing.
I have a confession for you.
Yeah, how many you crush in a row?
I've crushed 3 at once before.
Shut up. Was
Yeah.
that under the influence of anything?
Nope. Just
Really?
I love it, man.
No greenie? No green influence on that one? Like
Oh, fuck no. Green's part of me all the time. That's just part of how I don't even know if I'm not green.
it's gonna be big trouble when Keith and I get in person on these chairs. That's all I gotta say. It's gonna be like one of those episodes of Snoopers.
Oh my
special
god,
guest.
yeah.
So,
But no, a pound and a half. A pound and a half. Awesome.
dude, you know what? It's great. They're treats, man. They're treats. But 3 in a row might be a bit much.
And that's how we're going to leave it today. Keith and Di are going to get out of here. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Next week, Audra and Matt are going to join us to talk about consequences and so forth. And we're going to keep digging into the show. So you have a great weekend. Oh, I got one last thing to tell you, man. Something's resonating with our conversations around the world because we are now having an impact, Di Manuel, I'm telling you. So we are 26 in Afghanistan. We're 48 in Egypt. We're 104 in Thailand. And yeah, we're having an impact on dads around the planet. And I'm telling you right now, I don't have bots working for us. I do not have
I love it.
VAs listening to stuff. You and I are having an influence on gentlemen around the world.
That's crazy. They're tuning in, those crazy Canucks, huh? And what do these guys know what they're talking about? Well,
Oh,
we'll,
that's
we'll
it.
give them a chance. We'll give them a
That's it.
chance.
That's it. That's it. All right, let's get out of here. We'll see you guys next week with Audra and Matt Karam. Ciao.
Awesome. Thanks, Keith. Have a great weekend, brother.
Thanks. You too, brother.
Go Canucks, go!
Go.